Hello, this is Solent Sports News. I'm Callum Bates and these are your headlines at 12. A massive day for some clubs as they look to get the deals over the line to help them with the second half of the season. But here is a little roundup on some of the most important deals. Atletic's own David Ornstein have reported Premier League leaders Arsenal have agreed a deal worth $12 million for Italian Jorginho and will sign a contract until 2024 plus an option of a further year. Medical later today at the Arsenal training ground. This shuts the door on the move for Brighton midfielder Moses Caicedo. It seems he is destined to stay at Brighton for now. I'm going to bring in our transfer expert right now, James. Can you tell me about all the transfer deals around the world, please?
So, from Jorginho to Timo Bakayoko, the other Chelsea midfielder who is currently on loan at AC Milan for the last 6 months. He's fallen out of favour with the manager and has lack of game time, which has seen him move from AC Milan to Cremonese, the 20th place side in Serie A. We move from there to Vitinha, who is the Braga striker who has been linked with the move to Southampton. Southampton have agreed to pay the release clause of £26.2 million, which will see them break the record set by Danny Ings in 2017. West Ham recently bought Danny Ings and he has become injured within 3 days after his transfer. They now look to Ligue 1 and Taron Moffi, who has played 18 games and scored 12 goals in Ligue 1 this season. They have inquired a £26 million move and are waiting for a response. We then move to Tottenham in London, who have currently had an on and off relationship with Pedro Porro and Sporting. It started on 5th January with inquiries about the right wing back, and they have now pushed it over the line, it seems, with a £39.5 million buy option after the season-long loan. Spurs, with this recent announcement, have turned around and decided to let Matt Doherty and Jed Spence, both right-backs, go out on loan to Atletico Madrid and Rennes, respectively. They are both season-long loans with no buy options available. We then move on to the star for Morocco, who are the semi-finalists of this recent World Cup, Sofiane Amrabat, the CDM, who has been compared to N'Golo Kante. He has been linked to Barcelona from Fiorentina. This is a season-long loan with an obligation of $25 million to buy the player. And that is the news update so far from around the world.
Thank you, James. Obviously, following that deal for Jorginho, there has still been no breakthrough for the World Cup young player of the tournament, Enzo Fernandez, following the Chelsea British transfer record. But Chelsea officials have been sent out to Portugal to strike a deal, but Benfica's stance has been clear, €120 million or nothing. As of right now, Chelsea are willing to pay €120 million, but only in instalments. Chelsea and Morocco winger Hakim Ziyech is close to completing his move from Chelsea to PSG. The only details that need to be discussed is if it's a move that is going to be permanent or a loan. The Morocco international has already landed in Paris as well. João Cancelo has completed his loan move from Manchester City. That move includes an option to buy at the end of the season, which will be £70 million. This move has occurred following a major bust-up with the Portuguese international and Pep Guardiola after João Cancelo got subbed off in the Manchester derby defeat. It'll be interesting to see if Man City go out and find a replacement for the Portuguese international. Arsenal women's have had a record-breaking bid for Manchester United's Alessia Russo. Russo has 5 women's Premier League goals in 9 games, and there has been no breakthrough between the two clubs yet, and any deal looks quite unlikely as they are direct rivals and both teams are within 3 points of each other at the top of the Premier League. Some team news ahead of tonight's clash between Southampton and Newcastle. Saints are without Joan Laros, Alex McCarthy and Valentino Livramento, and potentially Moussa Djenepo after he was taken off in the first leg after being clattered by Nick Pope and is yet to return to action. Newcastle have the trio of Jonjo Shelvey, Kraft and former Saints Matt Targett. The FA Cup fixtures for the 5th round have now been drawn. There are now a few big teams starting to crash out. In the 4th round, we saw Man City knock out Premier League leaders Arsenal. Liverpool, the former holders of the FA Cup, also lost their 4th round tie to Brighton 2-1. Red hot Manchester United are still in the competition and face West Ham at home after they won their 2-0 last night against Derby County. However, the most notable fixture is Southampton against Luton Town. If Luton a manager win against Grimsby in their replay, if that happens, Southampton boss Nathan Jones will face his former club in a ferocious tie. Championship side Bristol City will host the champions Manchester City. The Six Nations will be kicking off this weekend as Wales take on Ireland in the opener. Ireland are the current favourites for this year's edition of the tournament, with last year's champions France close behind after they achieved a Grand Slam beating every nation. No team has ever won back-to-back Grand Slams, a feat France will be hoping to achieve. England are going into the tournament with a different coach from last year, Steve Borthwick, taking the helm for the Lions in mid-December after a poor run of form under former coach Eddie Jones. Thank you for listening. We'll be back at 1.